Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another video. Welcome, and indeed Merry Christmas, I guess. Just a quick one from me today, announcing the next project. I've got kind of an idea that I want to do over the holiday season. Thank you to everyone who's been watching me in Path of Exile 2. PoE 2 isn't necessarily over, I'm just at a point with it. I mean, if you've watched the recent episodes, you'll know that I have a hell of a lot of grind to do. So I figured there'd be another cool series that we can do in the meantime, while maybe in the evenings I keep progressing the character and hopefully have some cool stuff to show you there. So yeah, as I speak into the microphone, it is December 20th. The Christmas season is really getting underway now. There's a Let's Play that I've really wanted to do the past half a year or so. It's been like under my skin, like an itch I haven't been able to scratch. It wasn't really on my list at the beginning of this year. Like, I plotted out all the different things I wanted to go for. This was not on it, but it's caught me and it won't let me go now. So I've decided this can be a fun, special thing for us this Christmas. And what is it? Well, you're no idiot. You've read the title of this video. It's a return to Final Fantasy X, FFX, and I believe, I mean, I haven't actually counted this, and it scares me a little to do so, but I believe it's been over 10 years now since I did a video on that game. Wow, so what's the deal here? Well, as some of you probably know, ages ago, I did a full Let's Play on FFX. I did its sequel as well, X2, which was far less popular. But, you know, in the name of completion, I wanted to cover it. And there's things to enjoy about it. We also covered, like, the semi-sequel after that, Last Mission. And we had a look at the absolutely terrible audiobook, the novel, and all of that kind of stuff at the very, very end. All told, I'm really proud of what I did with Final Fantasy X those years ago. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Judging by the comments, it's one of the series that I've done that you guys have liked a lot over the years. I still get people going back there and dropping me messages. It's always a fun time to, you know, wake up and see that people are talking about it a bit. So anyway, it would maybe seem natural to do another video at some point on it, but like, we already did everything, so we would need something a bit different, right? Well, don't worry, because there is something kind of different for us to check out. There is a very cool mod. So there is a modding scene for Final Fantasy X, even though it's a pretty old game, you know, early 2000s we're talking. It was kind of a game ahead of its time in a lot of ways, so it hasn't aged as much as many of its peers. But it is an old game, and you might think nobody's really that active around it, but there are mods being made even to this day. There is a bit of a modding scene. And something came out, I think, the past 18 months or so. It's really epic. It's basically an overhaul of the game called the FFX Master Challenge, made by a very talented guy through a lot of hex editing and stuff called Coryphean. So obviously, one of the best things about 10, if you've seen the series that I've already done on it before, you'll know this. At its core, it's a really fun, well-made, robust RPG. It has good mechanics, it has lots of fun ways to play with a turn-based system, you know, it's got the cool idea of the sphere grid in there, but basically, despite being such a, like, really good engine and nice idea, it's tuned very easy. You know, on your first playthrough, you probably get a real kick out of it, but for anyone going back through, like a second replay, the game's, like, very, very, very simple, and you end up not seeing or using a ton of the abilities and like animations and fun stuff that you could be doing, but you're never really incentivized to, because the game's, you know, pretty easy really. The community for 10 over the years has always found fun ways to like embrace some of that. You know, there's very common challenge runs people do. They do no sphere grid runs, they do one character only runs, they do like no overdrives, no summons, and so on and so on and so on. You've got the whole speedrunning scene too, and there were some amazing new developments with that in recent years. So the game has a lot to love just as an RPG. About 10 years ago, on the modding scene, there was an Overhaul released, and you may have heard me talking about it before, a very famous difficulty mod, really, like a grueling mod, and a kind of unfun mod in some ways. It was the P. Birdman Overhaul. I'm sure I alluded to it in some of my past content. Basically what that mod did was it made the bosses very hard, it changed a lot of their resistances and stuff, tweaked some drops, basically massively inflated the numbers, and for a long time I've been interested in doing the P. Birdman mod, but the more I've read about it, the more I'm not too sure. And look, the P. Birdman obviously also incredibly talented. I don't want to throw too much shade or whatever over what is an amazing, you know, fan project as well. But, you know, I've read a lot of comments now that it's kind of cheesy or it's a bit unfair. You know, it's filled with weird in-jokes to Game FAQs members, stuff like that that I probably wouldn't appreciate. Just kind of not my cup of tea. Rather than being a celebration of the game's combat system, the P. Birdman mod is kind of just like this cryptic arcane thing where you have to guess what the author thinks you should do to get through a fight, which has a certain novelty, but I don't know. Apparently it has a big problem with grind as well, where, you know, recent versions, he's had a bunch of feedback from people that this is too easy or this is too easy, but it's from people that grind like mad, so now you kind of have to grind like mad, and you'll still have a challenge, and I don't know, I'm not all about that. So, look, P-Birdman looks very good, and I've always been a little bit interested in it, but the reviews of it have come in a bit iffy. Anyway, fast forward to now, many, many years later, let's just say this, P-Birdman has walked so that others could run. There are now a lot of options, and in particular is this, the Master Challenge. This one looks really excellent to me. It's from a guy, Coryphean. It's really new. Again, it's an overhaul of the game, the fresh coat of paint that I was looking for, but it doesn't actually change any basic rules about how the game plays. It's about giving you new options, about tweaking the sphere grid and the kind of abilities that you have available, the AI of the enemies and the moves that they use to just make the game a lot more interesting. You know, people play this saying it feels like playing a sequel to Final Fantasy X. It's that good. And on the topic of grind, it has this really cool idea where it's a grindless thing, where basically the designer of the mod said, okay, I can have this problem. How do I let players have a challenge, or do I just let them bypass the challenge by, like, over-leveling? Or do I design it so that they have to over-level, kind of like how P-Birdman ended up? Well, he said, look, let's just do it this way, where there is no grind. You get a set amount of XP, a certain amount of, like, levels on the sphere grid, a set amount of items for customization and stuff, and that's it from each boss fight. And it's up to the players how they spend that. So there's this whole other layer of strategy with this mod that now you get to play with. Like, it's really important. Do you veer off to the left to give Auron some new ability? Do you customize a certain thing onto a weapon for one character but not another? You get like this whole other level of gameplay now. And the random encounters, you don't have to worry about doing loads to grind up area to area. It's just random encounters are obstacles to get past just to get to the next save. So it sounds brilliant, really, really cool. And because he can guarantee what level and what strength everyone has, all the fights and everything about it is like really tightly and nicely tuned, apparently. It looks great. Even just the fact that it has a revamped sphere grid is so exciting to me. You know, look at when the international release of the original game came out, right? What did they do? They gave you the expert sphere grid, and that in itself was just like this huge new bonus thing. And, well, we have a similar thing here to play through. So, yeah, new boss moves. It does other things as well, like it tweaks some of the cutscenes, it changes some of the music. I think there's like some ideas of some new bosses, like the end game has changed. Here, if you're not fully convinced by me, here's a couple of messages from Nexus from just like this December. The mod is like finished, but he still does like updates and continues refining it, and it had like an update a matter of days ago. So here's some of the things people are saying. Goblin says, been absolutely loving this mod. First time playing through the game with an overhaul, and it feels so fresh, like I'm playing a sequel to my favorite game. Smashing job. Azur says, when I initially read this, it sounded lame to have a curated experience, but since I love X and challenge runs, I decided to give it a shot. I only just got to Kilika. Now, if you guys know this game or the earlier series I did, you'll know that's very early. He says, I'm impressed so far. Even this early, the changes to the enemies, the tuning and the movesets have been fun. If this continues, I'm sure I'll end up loving it. I'm hoping to complete this with no summons and overdrives as well, so good luck to that guy. This guy, a friendly Iron, says, wow, I finally finished this. Ish, I couldn't do penance. This is really such a cool mod. After having played so many RPGs, I've really got tired of grinding to the point that I honestly think all RPGs should be structured this way. So this was a really interesting look into that design space. FFX was already one of my favourite JRPGs, and you've removed what I consider to be its only major flaw, while also making its fights even better. I'm truly impressed by your dedication and ingenuity in crafting so many engaging mechanics, and I'd love to see an original game from you in this vein. I mean, look at this, this is high praise. I particularly liked how much more I got to use status ailments. I remember them being useful against regular encounters, but useless against bosses, both because bosses were typically immune to everything, and because the game was so easy. But now, playing with status ailments is so fun. Yeah, like, one of the fundamental things about this mod, guys, is, like, a lot of stuff in the base game that was immune to everything is no longer. So again, you get to play with these tools, but they're tougher in other ways. This guy says, this lady, Heather, says, I beat Seraph, woohoo. Anyway, this mod was amazing. I've only beaten it today, and I'm already tempted to replay it again immediately, just because of how much I enjoyed it. Over on Reddit, this guy says, compared to the P-Bird mod, this is on another level. I believe Coryphean took inspiration from the mod, improved upon every aspect. Things in P-Bird were very unfair. There were mechanics that would blindside the player and just wipe you out of nowhere. There were so many enemy encounters or boss battles where the reason it was hard was because there was some obscure tech or mechanic that wasn't explained. Just the quality of life things go a long way with this mod. Things like all the enemies can be hit by statuses and breaks. P-Bird made everything immune, and it made fights tedious and prolonged. So you can see, or like how things can be scanned and censored. That way, if there's some seemingly obscure mechanic that will happen at a later stage, it is explained. 10 out of 10 mod. I've beaten it multiple times. And then finally, Coryphean had this post on Reddit as well 3 months ago. I think this guy posts a lot, actually, and watches playthroughs of it and is constantly looking at feedback. They say, of their own mod, they say, I suppose it is an exercise in design around what the player can do. The combat system of X provides a lot of options and means to tackle encounters with, and thinking about them and putting them to use is simply fun. And that's how I feel. Every time I play 10, that's exactly how I feel. I'm like, oh, here's a cool thing I've unlocked. I want to meaningfully use it, and then you kind of feel like you don't really a lot of the time. He says, the mod largely exists to do this proper justice. I feel like a mod like this just had to be made at some point. And he says, I'd even say it's somewhat antithesis to the design of the vanilla post-game, as the Dark Aeons do not really feel designed around what the player can do, but just rather what they can do. Yeah, and he's right about that. Square Enix, or Squaresoft as they were at the time, this was just before the merger, they just made most Dark Aeons immune to almost everything. And then they made even, Dark Anima penetrates Ribbon, for example. But yeah, more encouraging commentary from him. And, one final message here from Shiny Book. I had a fantastic time playing and recording. In fact, I wasn't even planning on recording until I got past one of the Sinspawn fights, and I realized I had to start because it was too cool to keep to myself. Even despite my original worries as far as the grindless part and no escaping from random encounters, it has been an awesome experience. I'm really looking forward to eventually finishing and seeing what kind of tweaks the later story has. So yeah, guys, this seems amazing. It's a brilliant excuse to go back. And, as much as all this gameplay stuff will be going on, I'm just excited to get back, listen to Macon again, meet Seymour, follow Yuna's pilgrimage, go to home, all this stuff. I can't wait to get back in and experience the story. I actually did do a playthrough about 4 years ago, but it's washing over me again now. So yeah, and what will be cool as well is I'm going to do it in the sort of live first format that we've been doing recently. So there'll be fairly long episodes. I'm going to be doing them daily. Around the same normal start time. I'll have a premiere up, so check the description of this video, maybe, or the comments of this video. I'll have a link to it for you guys. And as we go, because we'll do with the live chat, we can do votes. You guys can vote on what character we take where in the grid, if we go for this item, what we customize into where. Just that extra meta level of strategy I'm really looking forward to. And you guys can, you can lead me astray or help me out with some fun votes and things as well, which hopefully will be a cool thing. As far as graphics are concerned, when I was originally Let's Playing this, I was doing it with a capture card over on my PS3, I think it was. Obviously, it's all just now on Steam. It's so much easier. It's so much better looking. And, you can get texture mods and stuff. Coincidentally, this December, another big mod is going on, which is a guy has... So one of the big things that was terrible about the remaster of this game is Square Enix lost all the data for the face animations, so the faces look terrible. They look like Tidus looks like he's tweaked out on meth or something. He looks absolutely awful, and like their tongues are missing or their teeth are missing, and what was quite cool subtle expressions or even quite major expressions. People are supposed to look angry in a cutscene. They just look barefaced and like weird creepy dolls in the remaster. The faces are awful in the remaster. Anyway, there's some mods now that take the original data from the PS2 faces and gives you them in the HD remaster. So you can do the best of both worlds, and I've actually installed, and it all works, and it's all compatible. So not only should it be good high quality stuff, but we'll actually get decent faces as well. Though it's a kind of old game, it looks a bit janky even at the best of times. I guess that'll be something we talk about as we go through it. But there you go, guys. I'm really excited for this. Join me over this Christmas. I'll be doing daily episodes. The first one will be tomorrow around the usual time. Check out the comments for the premiere, and I'd love to see you guys there. It'll be nice to go back to Spira and maybe see some people in the chat as well, or watching the videos that we haven't seen for a while, because we haven't done anything on X for, Christ knows how long. The game isn't actually that long, by the way. My playthrough a few years ago was like 27 hours for the entire game. I usually think of it as about 40 hours for the game. And the post-game is very different in this mod. It's actually a lot shorter. So, yeah, it should be very, very doable and a lot of fun. So thanks very much, guys. Thanks again, as I said at the start, to all your support for the series we've been doing over the last few months. And I hope to see you all tomorrow. Take care, guys, and Merry Christmas.
There is a legend, you know. Just before the horrible sin appeared, a terrible war raged between Bavel and Zanarkand. When the armies of Bavel attacked Mount Gagazet, they heard a song echoing across the snowy slopes. "'Tis a song from an other world," they said. The soldiers panicked and ran. And then, as if to pursue the retreating armies, sin appeared. Some time later, scouts from Bavel braved the mountain. On the other side, they witnessed the ruins that had been Zanarkand. The city destroyed, not a single soul left standing, gone. In its place, a multitude of the faith had gathered on Gagazet. They were singing a song. It's the song we now call the Hymn of the Faith. And that, as they say, is that, well, maybe not all of it.